All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. So I've got a couple interesting stories for you guys today. The first story, I want to talk about Calum Von Moger. Now, every month or so since Calum Von Moger has been back to training, he puts up a pretty good update of where his physique is standing. And right now, Calum Von Moger looks to have made tremendous progress from his starting point, post-surgeries, post-injuries, atrophied muscle. He hadn't been training to where he's at now just a few months later. I think the amount of progress that he's made is absolutely tremendous. And he's back to posting training videos. He's back to posting physique updates. And just overall, Calum Von Moger looks like he's not going to let these injuries hold him back and be the end of his career. It looks like he is really serious about getting back to competitive form and getting back to the Calum Von Moger that he originally gained his following for being. And I think it is actually very encouraging and very exciting to see someone that had such devastating injuries and such really a massive setback to his career as a bodybuilder, such a tremendous setback to his physique, be able to really redeem himself and make this much progress and make this much improvement and really make this much effort and this much progress towards a comeback. And I think comeback stories in bodybuilding can really be some of the coolest and most interesting stories in bodybuilding. And we're going to get to that towards the end of this video. There's going to be a major comeback here this weekend, actually, at the British Grand Prix. And we're going to talk about that towards the end of the video again. But, bodybuilding comebacks, sometimes they can be disappointing, but sometimes they can be very, very interesting, very encouraging, and very motivating. I think Calum Von Moger is going to be one of those comebacks that's extremely motivating. I think Calum certainly has the drive and evidently has the ability to put that muscle back on. And we've touched on this before, but back before he got injured, his goal was to start competing in classic physique. He did like one NPC show as a classic physique competitor, and his goal was to turn pro, get his IFBB pro card, qualify for the Olympia, then compete at the Olympia in the classic physique division. And hopefully that is still something that we're going to see him be able to do. So as always, best of luck to Calum, and we're hoping to see him make a competitive comeback where he looks, basically how he used to look. Now, going into the next story here, a lot of people have been talking about this young bodybuilder, 24 years old, Nick Walker, who recently won a smaller NPC show in Jersey. And that NPC show was primarily just for him to qualify for the USAs based on what I've seen. So the USAs, one of the biggest, if not the biggest amateur shows in the NPC. The opportunity at the USAs is to earn your IFBB Pro card in men's open bodybuilding. And that is what Nick Walker is going for at the USA. So Nick Walker's been posting a lot of progress pictures and a lot of updates going into the USA show. And one particular photo that jumped out to me here was his front double bicep photo where he looks phenomenal. He has the size of an IFBB Pro, and I think at the USAs, Nick Walker is going to be one of the top guys in the running to get that pro card and be the newest IFBB Pro in 2019. So I'm excited to see the USAs and the results of the USAs and who ends up getting that IFBB Pro card and who our newest IFBB Pro will be. So as always, I will keep you guys posted on the USAs, the results, and all that good stuff. So again, make sure you subscribe to this channel if you have not already to make sure you get that USAs coverage. And of course, best of luck to Nick Walker competing at the USAs. I hope to see him get that IFBB Pro card because I do actually think he has a really very impressive physique, especially considering his age at 24 years old. Now, next up, I want to talk about some Olympia news. Now, we've talked about the qualified competitors for both the classic physique division at the 2019 Mr. Olympia and also in men's open bodybuilding. But what we have not yet touched on as far as the Olympia qualified competitors is the list of 212 Olympia qualified bodybuilders. Now, I'm really hoping that the 212 Olympia doesn't go anywhere. This past year at the Arnold Classic, they got rid of the 212 division. So that was kind of an interesting change to get rid of the 212 division, which I thought had been a pretty big attraction to the Arnold Classic. And it makes me kind of worried for the 212 division because one of the trends that I think is starting to happen right now is classic physique is taking on way more attention than 212. And I think a lot of these competitions are shifting to try to put a bigger focus on classic physique. And I think the Olympia is included in that. I think the Arnold Classic is included in that. And I think there's a big effort right now to shift focus to classic physique and maybe take some focus away from 212. And of course, you've got Flex Lewis, who was the biggest attraction in 212. The reigning Mr. Olympia for many years in the 212 division is now moving up to men's open bodybuilding. So you could make the argument that the excitement for 212 is probably at an all-time low, while the excitement for classic physique is really reaching a fever pitch. It's at its all-time high right now. So it does make me kind of worried for the division, but I still want to cover the 212 Olympia qualified competitors for the 2019 Olympia. But who knows how many more years the 212 division will be around. It's just kind of a sad reality. It might not be around forever. All right, so qualified for the 212 Olympia, you have James Lewis, a.k.a. Flex Lewis, and we know that he's not doing the Olympia. You've got Derek Lunsford, who I think is going to be the favorite to actually win the 212 Olympia this year. So Derek Lunsford, I think, is the main guy to watch out for in this lineup. You've got Kamal El Gargni, who was the 2018 Arnold Classic 212 champion. So that's a pretty big name in this lineup as well. Of course, you have Ahmad Ashkanani, who has been the runner-up at the 212 Olympia, so he's got to really be one of the top names in that conversation to be a threat for the new 212 Olympia title, because this year, no matter what, there will be a new 212 Mr. Olympia. It's been Flex Lewis for the past, what has it been, 6 or 7 years? So for the first time in half a decade, we're going to have a new 212 Mr. Olympia, and that should be pretty exciting. Jose Raymond is also qualified, but he's done competing, so he won't be there. Hadi Chapin, which this is one of the bigger controversies in the 212 lineup, his inability seemingly to get a visa to come compete in the United States seems to be preventing him from doing shows, specifically the Olympia. A lot of people want to see Hadi Chapin compete at the Olympia. A lot of people felt that he could have beat Flex Lewis at the Olympia in his prime because Hadi was just that good, but we haven't seen that yet. And it's still kind of up in the air whether or not Hadi is going to be at this 2019 Mr. Olympia. People are saying that he will. His coach, Hani Rambod, has alluded to the fact that Hadi's going to be there, but we really don't know. I think they kind of said that last time, and Hadi didn't show up. But I guess we'll see. You've also got Sean Clarita, Angel Calderon Frias. You've got David Henry, who is another guy that we should be watching out for. He's always a guy that's in the conversation of the top 6. You've got Kokani Bela. You've got Aaron Polides, who this guy, he was at the Indy Pro, fantastic bodybuilder. I think this is another guy that's going to be a threat to the top 6 at the 212 Olympia. You've got Noel Adame, who actually won the Indy Pro to qualify for the 212 Olympia. This is another guy you got to watch out for. You got Sami El Haddad. You got Fahad Hassizi, Ole Krivel, Eduardo Correa de Silva, again, another guy that we need to watch out for. This guy, he made his comeback this year. I think he's been done with competing for the past 3 or more years, and this was his comeback. So this is going to be kind of his comeback Olympia. So that should be exciting to see because this was another guy that went head-to-head with Flex Lewis in his prime. You've got Adolphus Quida, and then you've also got Hidetada Yamagishi, who just won that Dallas Europa, probably in the best shape of his life. So Hidetada, another guy that could be in the conversation for the top 6, maybe even the top 3 with the conditioning like that. Conditioning like that is something that is very rare to see from a 212 guy and something that's going to stand out on that Olympia stage. So we could very likely see Hidetada higher than top 6 if he brings a package that rivals that package that we saw at the Dallas Europa. And then again, just the same as Classic Physique and Men's Open Bodybuilding, the top 3 in point standings will qualify for the Olympia. Now, these might change between now and the Olympia, but right now, number 1 in points is Tomas Tabasiar. Number 2 is Mahmoud Al-Dura, and number 3 is Kim Jun-ho. So I, for one, I'm excited for the 212 Olympia. I hope it stays around for a while, but honestly, just the way things are going, I don't know how much longer there will be a 212 Olympia. Now, also in Olympia news here, I thought this was worth mentioning that there's a new title sponsor of the Mr. Olympia. So in years past, it's been pretty big companies, like Amazon has been the title sponsor of the Olympia for multiple years in the past. This year, it's a company called Trifecta Nutrition. Now, I found this to be interesting because Trifecta, number 1, it's a relatively new company. Number 2, I'm not sponsored by them at all. But this is actually the meal prep company that I use. So they're a meal prep service. You can order your food, have your food delivered in like a refrigerated box. They've got prepackaged meals. They've got like a la carte stuff. That's actually the meal prep service that I've been using for the past 2, maybe 3 months. So I thought it was interesting that they actually got a 5-year contract to be the title sponsor of the Olympia for the next 5 years. So that's pretty major. And I believe manager Matt was the guy that actually made this happen. So shout out to him. We've had some good conversations back and forth in the past. So shout out to him for making this happen. Pretty cool to see. So let's go ahead and get into the final story here, and that is going to be about the British Grand Prix, which is the upcoming bodybuilding competition that is going to be this weekend, actually. So it's going to be the most recent pro bodybuilding show, and also an opportunity to qualify for the Olympia. So we could see a new name added to that Olympia list. In my opinion, it will likely be Nathan Diasha who's going to be competing here. But the really interesting part about the competitor list for this show is that Zach Kahn was actually added to the list. So this was pretty interesting to me because I made a video a couple days ago that I guess Zach wasn't too happy about. And I was talking about bodybuilders that had a tremendous amount of hype and then ended up just stopping competing for whatever reason, whether it was an injury or they just decided to stop competing and kind of disappeared. And I had Zach on that list because Zach, when he was, back in like 2008, 2009, he was one of the most exciting bodybuilders on the scene, and everybody was talking about Zach Kahn. His pictures were in all the magazines. He was this crazy big bodybuilder, and he kind of competed in a handful of pro shows, had a massive injury to both his legs, I believe, and then he quit competing. And I wasn't really negative about Zach in any way in that video, besides the fact that I was talking about him kind of in past tense as a bodybuilder that had all this hype and then ended up just stopping competing. So I guess it was pretty unfortunate timing for me to post a video talking about Zach in the past tense if he was planning on having this surprise comeback. And I posted that video not knowing anything about this comeback just a couple days before it was announced that Zach was making this comeback. And he hasn't competed, I believe, since 2015. So it's been about 4 years since we've seen Zach on a IFBB pro stage. And I guess he wasn't too happy about that video. But look, man, I've got nothing against Zach. I wish him nothing but the best, and I hope to see a very tremendous version of Zach Kahn on this pro stage, and I hope he does very well. I hope he wins the show. I love a good comeback story, and I hope he makes a terrific comeback here. So best of luck to Zach Kahn, best of luck to Nathan Diasha, and we will see the results of this British Grand Prix this weekend. Again, subscribe to this channel if you have not subscribed already. I'll be covering that show as well. Thank you guys for watching the video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. And as always, Nick Strength and Power, signing out.